welcome to A Good Walk Spoiled, Adventures in Golf, hosted by Scott Ponywaz, also known as @Pony Golf. Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Good Walk Spoiled. Coming out of the Masters weekend at Augusta, and Scotty Scheffler is a guy on a roll right now. Pretty much unstoppable. So he ended up running away with the win on Sunday. All those lucky patrons that were able to see him play top-notch golf, he ended up, 11 under to finish the weekend. And, it was definitely tough watching a couple of the guys struggle down the back stretch with Colin Morikawa and a couple of doubles on 9 and 11, and Homa having a couple tough holes, and, Bryson DeChambeau coming out big opening round on Thursday and then sort of flatlining through the rest of the weekend. All that was tough to watch, but congratulations to Mr. Scotty Scheffler and his second Masters win. And so we've got a great episode for today as we step into RBC Heritage Week, and the tour is heading to Hilton Head, South Carolina. So if you did not catch the last episode that I recorded, it's sort of like a little bit of a preview for what's to come this week at the RBC Heritage. So make sure you go back and check that episode out. Get you all caught up for all things RBC Heritage and Harbor Town for this week. And today's episode, we've got a pretty fun lineup. Everybody knows, obviously, the controversies surrounding LIV right now and PGA Tour and some of that stuff. But I thought it would be actually a little bit more fun, rather than focusing on the current world, to take a step back and look at some of the historical backgrounds of the USGA and the R&A, how they came to be, some of their struggles with each other over the years, and some of the controversies that had those two global golf organizations sort of butting heads. So we're going to have a fun little dive into that as one of our main subjects. And then for the tail end of the episode, for those that have listened to a few, or I guess only a couple so far of our episodes, we have our chips, bites, and flights segment at the end, which is sort of our travel / destination guide on golf. And we're going to take a little trip to the Pacific Northwest. So you will need to stay tuned to figure out which course is going to be highlighted on that. But if you are watching the YouTube video or catching me on Millions, there might be a little hint in the video on which course that is for some of you that are seeing the visuals and not just the audio. So you might be able to figure that out. But so we'll take that to the Pacific Northwest. So start guessing. I want to remind you all to like, subscribe, and comment and share this podcast with all your friends. I also want to call out those of you that are maybe not aware of the Golfer Gang Network yet. I was able to become a part of this network of golf podcasts. So there are some other great golf podcasts to check out. Highly recommend. Some are different focuses on amateur golf, and some more on PGA Tour, and sort of recapping and all that kind of stuff in golf commentary in the world. So Golfer Gang Network, and as part of the Masters week last week, Jeff and the crew at Golfer Gang Network were able to launch golfergang.com. So you can go check out all the other podcasts in the network and check that out. over there. So Golfer Gang Network, golfergang.com to go check out the Golfer Gang Network. The other exciting thing is I did just launch a little bit of merch on my website for the A Good Walk Spoiled podcast. So I highly recommend you head over to my site and you can go check that site out at millions.co/Scott-Ponywaz-golf. I probably should have done that as just pony golf, but either way, I've got some new merch featuring the A Good Walk Spoiled logo, some hats, some hoodies, some t-shirts. So head over there, support me, pick up a shirt. It's not gonna have a bunch of marketing on there for you, but you can rep it. I tend to like my logo, so thanks to the millions.co folks. I'll drop that in the description, as well as try to drop it into the YouTube video stream as well. But again, that's millions.co/Scott-Ponywaz-golf. So now that we got that all out of the way, thanks to Golfer Gang Network, thanks to Millions, and let's just dive in and get this episode started. So as I was watching the Masters this weekend, I sort of came up with this thought of digging in a little bit more on the different organizations that have come to essentially run the world of golf. Watching the Masters, especially after day one, Bryson DeChambeau being in the lead and sort of starting to run away from a lot of the other players in this past weekend's Masters. I was just thinking about some of the commentary that was going on, and of course Brandel Chambly talking about LIV and all the Saudi-backed money and all this other stuff. And so I thought today's episode, it would be fun to actually go get away from LIV and like roll it back even further, back to history of the USGA and the R&A. In recent years, LIV Golf has definitely started to emerge as this disruptive force in the world of professional golf, and it's challenging the traditional structure and governance and the very significant financial investments and some very significant financial payments to players. This new team-based format and lucrative financial incentives for the top players that are being lured away from tours like the PGA Tour, European Tour, and Asian Tour. With even the most recent controversy and rumors swirling that Rory McIlroy might be the next after Jon Rahm sort of made the shift over to LIV. So, rumors, we'll see what happens, but if you haven't seen them, there's talk from some interesting sources that Rory might be taking something in the ballpark of $850 million to go move over to LIV from the PGA Tour, which is just fueling the fires on the rumor mill, especially with some of the outspoken comments Rory has been making over time on behalf of the PGA Tour. That being said, however, LIV Golf's ambitious plans have started to spark the controversy and pushback from golf's governing bodies, which include the USGA, the United States Golf Association, as well as the R&A, more classically called the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, as well as PGA, Professional Golf Association, as well as the World Golf Rankings. And so these concerns have been raised about the potential impact of LIV Golf's league on the integrity of the sport, with things like 54 holes and not being able to earn World Player of the Year ranking points. And then also just some of the other things that are changing the classic version of golf. Music at the events, players able to wear shorts, even the fact that LIV is taking care of caddies with travel stipends and things like that, where the PGA Tour traditionally hadn't. Both the USGA and the R&A have expressed their reservations about LIV's adherence to the principles of the rules of golf, but also its potential to disrupt the global landscape of competitive golf. And the PGA has announced or voiced their concerns about the potential for conflicts of interests and destabilization of the established tours. And as all of these discussions and negotiations continue between LIV and golf's governing bodies, the future of professional golf definitely remains uncertain. Sort of clash between this tradition and innovation underscores the very complex dynamics at play as the sport grapples with evolving commercial interests and also aims to sort of preserve its rich heritage and still have some of the best players in the world that might have shifted over to LIV still be able to play on some of the world's biggest stages and the majors and some of these other controversies that are happening. But it's not the first time in golf's history that different organizations have butted heads on the future of golf and rules and things that made very significant changes in the game of golf. And so I thought it would be fun today to kind of run through a little bit of the background between USGA and the R&A because I think it's just kind of some fascinating stuff. So I'm going to first kind of touch on the USGA, and then I'll get into the R&A, and then I'm going to kind of go into the butting heads. So one of the most influential organizations in golf is the United States Golf Association, or more affectionately known, the USGA. And so to understand the USGA, we do need to first kind of cast our minds back to the 19th century. It's really a pivotal time in golf's evolution. Golf had begun to gain traction in the United States, thanks in no small part to the efforts of passionate players and clubs that cropped up around the nation in that late 19th century. However, with the booming popularity came a pressing need for standardization. And so rules back in the day tended to vary pretty widely from club to club, and this ended up leading to a lot of confusion and inconsistency. And it was against this backdrop that sort of those local club rules, as players started playing in different clubs and playing with other golfers, that the USGA eventually emerged. So how it all came to be. In 1894, delegates from 5 prominent golf clubs gathered at the Newport Country Club in Rhode Island to establish the USGA. And so what was their mission? The mission was to promote and conserve the best interests of the game, as well as to unify and codify the rules of golf throughout the country. Among those instrumental in the formation of the USGA was Theodore Havemeyer, its first president. Under his guidance, the USGA wasted no time in setting to work. In 1895, they published their first official set of standardized rules, which laid the foundation for the modern game of golf we know today. And over the decades that have followed, the USGA continued to expand its influence, overseeing prestigious championships such as the Major, the US Open, the US Women's Open, the US Amateur. And these tournaments not only showcased talents of the world's greatest golfers, but also served to inspire enthusiasts and future champions to take on the game. Yet, the USGA's impact extended far beyond the fairways through initiatives like the Green Section, which was established in 1920 to promote sustainable course management, and the Museum and Archives, which preserve the rich tapestry of golf's history. The organization has remained at the forefront of innovation as well as preservation of golf history. Additionally, the USGA has played a pivotal role in management of the technological advancements within the game of golf. And this started with pioneering the development of golf balls and clubs to implementing distance measuring devices and also modernizing golf course architecture standards. The USGA has continually pushed the boundaries of innovation to enhance the game of golf for players of all levels in the United States, but it also has had some impacts globally. Today, the USGA stands as a beacon of tradition and excellence, guiding the sport with a steadfast commitment to integrity, inclusivity, and innovation. And as we look to the future, one thing remains clear, and that is that the USGA's legacy will continue to shape the world of golf. And with that, I want to then introduce the R&A, which is going to take us across the Atlantic to explore the rich history and the enduring influence of another venerable institution in the world of golf, and that is the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, better known as the R&A. And the history and the story of the R&A is intertwined with the very origins of golf itself. Founded in 1754, nearly 150 years prior to the USGA, in the historic town of St. Andrews, Scotland, the R&A began as a society of golfers dedicated to upholding the traditions and standards of the game. One of the R&A's earliest and most enduring contributions to golf came in 1759 when it published the first known version of the rules in golf. So 1759 far predates those of the USGA's, which were in 1895. And the rules of golf from the R&A laid the groundwork for the sport's regulation and were adopted by clubs throughout the British Isles and beyond. Over the centuries, the R&A has remained at the forefront of golf governance and innovation, much like the USGA. In 1860, they played a pivotal role in organizing the inaugural Open Championship, the oldest and most prestigious tournament in professional golf, and it's a tradition that continues to this day. Many people will refer to it as the British Open, but it is just the Open Championship, not to be confused with the US Open, which the USGA hosts. So, beyond championships, the R&A has championed numerous initiatives to promote the growth and sustainability of the sport, from supporting grassroots development programs to advocating for environmental stewardship on golf courses. The R&A has truly demonstrated a commitment to ensuring golf's continued relevance as well as its accessibility. Perhaps one of the most significant contributions from the R&A to the modern game came in 2004, and this is when it collaborated with the USGA to establish the Rules of Golf Committee. So in 2004, the two came together, and this partnership has led to a harmonization of the rules worldwide and has fostered consistency as well as clarity for players at all levels. In recent years, the R&A has also taken a very proactive stance on addressing contemporary challenges that are facing the sport, such as pace of play, as well as diversity and inclusion. Through research, education, strategic partnerships, the R&A continues to lead the charge in shaping golf's future. And today, the R&A stands as a time-tested symbol of golf's enduring legacy, a true custodian of tradition and catalyst for progress. As we look ahead, one thing remains certain, and that is the R&A's influence on the game will definitely endure for generations to come. So, before we jump into some of the drama before the sort of 2004 collaboration on the rules of golf, and after that collaboration, we're going to jump into some of the more modern disputes where the R&A and USGA might not have come together so closely. As we had discussed, the USGA and the R&A have definitely had their fair share of collaboration. However, they've also had just a couple different controversies, and everybody loves a little drama. So with this segment, we're going to dive into some of the interesting matters of golf that the R&A and the USGA have not quite aligned on. So the whole LIV PGA, this isn't the first organization to organization battle that's happened over the history of golf. So while the R&A and the USGA have collaborated pretty harmoniously on all matters related to golf, there are a few instances where conflicts or controversies have risen. And a couple of the notable examples, you're going to find a theme. So I'm going to start with that theme, which is a couple of them are related to the golf ball over the period of time. And so there have been several of these that have sort of resurfaced over time. And sort of the first one was the 19th century sort of battle of the balls. So in the early days of golf, before the formal establishment of the R&A and the USGA, disagreements over ball specifications were actually quite common among the different golf clubs and societies. Different clubs had varying standards for the ball size, the weight, the construction, and this led to a number of inconsistencies in the game's rules and equipment. These disputes often spilled into interclub competitions and would spark debates over which ball specifications should be the ones universally adopted. The eventual formation of the R&A and the USGA helped to standardize the ball regulations and resolve many of these early controversies, which ended up laying the groundwork for the modern game of golf. So, fast forward a few more years to the early 20th century, and you have the great ball controversy of the 1920s. So in the early 20th century, advancements in ball technology led to concerns about the increasing distance golf balls could travel. This might sound a little deja vu-ish. This sparked a debate between the R&A and the USGA over whether to regulate ball specifications to limit distance, the first of many times that we'll see this happening over the course of golf history. The R&A at this time in the 1920s favored the implementation of regulations, while the USGA initially resisted, arguing that such restrictions would eventually stifle innovation. Sounds like a current debate going on. The disagreement persisted for several years, reflecting broader tensions between the two organizations over the balance between tradition and progress in sport. So that was the great ball controversy of the 1920s. Here we are again with the 2000s, where the ball distance debate is again at the forefront. And this emerged again in the early 2000s between the R&A and the USGA, and this time revolved around the advancements in golf ball technology, which allowed for the longer distances off the tee. And concerns were raised about the impact on traditional golf courses, particularly those that had limited space for expansion. The R&A and the USGA conducted studies and discussions on whether to implement regulations to curb ball distance, which led to heated debates within the golfing community, while some advocated for restricting ball technology to preserve the integrity of classic courses, while others argued against stifling innovation and player performance. Ultimately, in the early 2000s, the R&A and the USGA decided against implementing specific ball distance regulations, but continued to monitor the advancements and their impacts on the game. And so here we are on, well, I guess in April of 2024, and they have decided to actually do the golf ball rollback. And so it's been made official as of December in 2023, which is where basically the revision to their testing, but they basically want to update and we'll have to reduce the ball distance. And so here we are, 2024, the first years of the rollback will essentially kick in. 2028 is the first year. So 2028, 2029 will basically be some of the transition years. And then 2030 for all golfers will have to be using the new golf balls and phasing out the non-conforming golf balls. So yeah, the golf ball debate is not a new one, and it has been in existence pretty much since the beginning of golf. So now they're actually doing something new with it. Everybody's got their opinion, so I'd be open to hearing you share yours in the comments. So moving on to another area, in the 1920s and 1930s, there was what was sort of considered the British invasion. And this historical controversy between the R&A and the USGA revolved around the dominance of the British golfers in major championships during the 20s and 30s. British players, utilizing the superior equipment and techniques that were developed in their home country, achieved significant success in events like the US Open, as well as the Open Championship. This led to debates over whether the R&A's regulations favored British players and whether the USGA should adjust its rules to the level playing field. The controversy highlighted differences in playing styles and equipment preferences between American and British golfers, and underscored the challenges of maintaining a cohesive set of rules in an increasingly global sport. So that also led to some other restrictions over the years. And this is one that, similar to the golf balls, is just sort of resurfaced over and over again now, most currently with club head speed and some of the drivers that have increased distance significantly or reduced spin, slicing, and hooking. So nothing new. They often have risen when new equipment innovations such as high-tech materials or design features potentially provide some golfers versus others with significant performance advantages. And the R&A and the USGA must balance that innovation as well as the integrity and skill-based nature of the game, but also allow for some of that technological progress. Disagreements and debates over equipment regulations have led to ongoing discussions and occasional revisions to the rules to address evolving challenges and concerns with the golfing community. One of those, I guess a little more recently, 2008, 2010, was the groove rule. The groove rule dispute, the great groove rule dispute of 2008 to 2010, was a significant conflict between the R&A and the USGA, and it emerged over the implementation of the groove rule, which in 2008, the USGA announced their changes to the regulations concerning the governing of club face grooves, and it aimed at reducing the amount of spin on shots from the rough. However, the R&A initially decided against implementing the same rule, leading to a period of divergence in equipment regulations between the two governing bodies. This discrepancy caused confusion among players as well as manufacturers and led to concerns about the potential for unequal playing conditions in international competitions. Eventually, after much debate and negotiation, the R&A and the USGA reached an agreement in 2010 to adopt a unified groove rule, which ensured that consistency across all levels of competitive golf. Another more recent one is the anchored putting ban. And this contentious issue arose between the R&A and the USGA, and it was the decision to ban the use of anchored putting strokes, which are commonly associated with the belly putters and the long putters. So in 2013, the USGA announced the ban, citing concerns about the potential for an unfair advantage and a departure from the traditional method of putting. So while the R&A initially did support the ban, there was speculation about potential differences in enforcement and interpretation between the two organizations, leading to uncertainty and controversy in the golfing community, with some players and commentators questioning the consistency of the actual ruling. So, however, 2016, the R&A and the USGA reaffirmed their commitment to the anchored putting ban. They clarified the rules, provided guidance to players and officials. Despite initial disagreements and debates, the two organizations ultimately stood united in their decision to uphold that ban on anchored putting strokes. So these many examples demonstrate that while the R&A and the USGA share common goals of governing and promoting the sport of golf, they are not immune to conflicts or controversies over rule changes and regulations. However, through open communication, collaborations, and both of the organizations' strong commitments to the integrity of the game, they have been able to, for the most part, resolve their disputes and maintain the credibility of golf's governing bodies. And I'm sure these golf ball rollbacks are not the last, so we will have to keep our eyes out for what's coming next. Welcome back. We are about to head out on our next adventure with Chips, Bites, and Flights, the segment of our podcast A Long Walk Spoiled, where we explore the perfect trifecta of golf, gastronomy, and travel. Again, I'm your host, Scott Ponywaz, and today we are embarking on a golfing adventure to breathtaking Chambers Bay Golf Course in Washington State. Those of you that were tuned into the YouTube or my millions.co video stream will know from my hat that Chambers Bay was going to be today's Chips, Bites, and Flights destination. So, nestled along the picturesque Puget Sound, Chambers Bay isn't just any old golf course. It's a masterpiece of modern golf architecture. Designed by renowned architects Robert Trent Jones Jr. and Bruce Charlton, and also a sort of hometown connection from where I grew up in Wisconsin, Jay Blasi, who is the lead designer on the project. Chambers Bay boasts a rugged link style layout that pays homage to the timeless courses of Scotland. But it wasn't until 2015 that Chambers Bay truly made its mark on the golfing world, and that year was the year that it played host to the US Open Championship, captivating audiences with its dramatic vistas, challenging terrain, and it was here that Jordan Spieth etched his name into golfing lore, battling the elements and the course to claim his second major title. So whether you're an aspiring pro or a weekend warrior or a amateur players tour member like myself that had the chance to play it in one of their national majors a couple of years ago, not to humble brag or anything, but I happened to also win in a playoff hole that multiple day tournament at Chambers Bay. It's just an experience it's like no other. But one of the things with Chambers Bay is the views are just incredible from this course. The vistas, the bunkering, the way that it's built into the old pit, and then it sort of stair steps its way around the property, up high, back down low, and then just the views of the sound are just breathtaking. Several days that I was there for, now I should actually remember it. I'm pretty sure it was 3-day tournament, not 2-day. The 3-day major, it was a mix of weather too, which the Pacific Northwest and being on the coast just outside of Seattle and Tacoma can give you. So we had perfect days of sunshine, beautiful weather. We had afternoons of high winds rolling in off the coast and seeing the wall of rain make its way across the sound to eventually open up the skies for a little bit and break out that rain gear. But then we also had just colder, higher wind days, and the property is just phenomenal. It's walking only, have caddies, they have push carts. It's not the easiest walk because there is quite a bit of up and down and undulation, but the views and the vantage points at this place are just phenomenal. Totally worth making your way to Chambers Bay. And I didn't get a chance to play some of the other courses in the area, but I do know, some people headed out to Gamble Sands for the day after. I didn't get the opportunity to make that trip, but there are also a handful of just top-notch public courses nearby that are also accessible to play. So you can walk the steps of that 2015 US Open. If you remember some of the green controversies, the grass has since been replaced on the greens, and they've made them a little bit more true and fair compared to that US Open championship. But it's just a great walk all around. And for me, in that case, it wasn't a good walk spoiled because I ended up in the playoff hole winning the Amateur Players Tour event. at that point. So just a stone's throw away, maybe about 15-20 minutes, lies the smaller town outlying city of Tacoma, home to a plethora of bed and breakfasts and also a few different hotel options. There's the Marriott that's right there. I wish I could remember the steakhouse that was down below, but it was a good, easy place right underneath. But if you want to indulge in more of the local cuisine, Tacoma and nearby Seattle are home to some of the Pacific Northwest's finest culinary delights. And in Tacoma, you definitely don't want to miss the chance to have fresh seafood at Anthony's at Point Defiance, where you also get additional sweeping views of the Puget Sound while dining on that catch of the day. And when you find yourself craving a little taste of the bigger city, or you want to go wander around in Seattle, there's no better recommendation that I can make than Canlis. Fine dining establishment with stunning views of Lake Union and just an impeccable menu that features Pacific Northwest inspired cuisine, modern twists, incredible service, great presentations. It's been a couple of years that I've actually had the opportunity to be to Canlis, but I've had other friends that have just been there more recently, and time again, it's sort of the epitome of Seattle dining experiences. So Canlis, get yourself a reservation, maybe the final night of the trip, try to make that your place to stay. And for those that are looking for that more casual dining experience, you can always venture into the infamous Seattle Pike Place Market, watch the fish get tossed through the air, the fishmongers, and you can also find some takeaways with artisanal cheeses, mouthwatering pastries, some great clam chowder. I can't remember the name of the counter, but in the market, there's a great little counter serving up great clam chowders. You can wander across the street to the original Starbucks if that so suits you for a little coffee pick-me-up. And you can wander around downtown Seattle from the Pike Place Market. So good little destination spot. So there you have it, a golfing adventure to Chambers Bay, complete with world-class golf, some easy accommodations, and incredible dining. Again, don't miss Canlis. Don't leave it off your list. So until next time, keep swinging for the fairways and savoring life's little pleasures. That wraps up not only our segment of chips, bites, and flights, but it also wraps up another episode of A Good Walk Spoiled. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm Scott Ponywaz, host of A Good Walk Spoiled. That concludes today's episode of A Good Walk Spoiled, Adventures in Golf, hosted by Scott Ponywaz. That's myself. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, rate it high, and follow us on Instagram at pony_golf to stay in the loop. Catch you next time.